Hey everybody, welcome to another corner conversation on the book of First Peter, the letter of First Peter. Today it is Rachel and I.
It is. And we were also workshopping some things before.
Yeah.
We were trying to think of new opening lines.
Hey, hey!
And I thought, hey, hey, hey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have to do three
I didn't know it
hays.
was threes. Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well,
I needed
so,
something a little easier.
in other
'cause
words, hey, hey!
all
Hey,
right.
so
There
it's
you go.
Rich is he's speaking is it junior high or high school camp?
I don't know which one it is. It's
Maybe it's
way
little
up
kids.
north. I know that.
Trout Lake. That's
Yeah.
great.
Isn't that way north?
Lake Mille Lacs area.
Oh, I guess I thought it was further north.
No.
He has internet, which he's happy about because
3
when
hours.
he was gone the week before at a different camp, but doing coffee cart, he had no internet most of the time. So
Yep. And
that's exciting.
Greg has an event this morning, is unable to join us.
Is he disc golfing?
I'm not sure.
I think he said it was like an opening, like a
Ceremony?
yeah, or
Do they have
we're such we have no idea.
they burn a disc or something?
It's no, they have the first round.
That's
Look at
good.
me. I could talk sort of golf.
No.
They have the first round, and then whoever gets in the top certain number goes to the
Yeah.
second round.
So Greg, have fun playing frisbee.
We don't say these things to Greg's face.
I
just
do.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But yeah, we're jumping into First Peter. This is the third week.
I know it doesn't feel like it. We
Yeah.
kind of zoomed.
Well, summer's
How
do you feel? Do you know that August is a
over?
week away?
No, I don't feel good about it at
State
all.
fair is 2 weeks away.
I know. I got a notification or like on Instagram, I was looking at something and there was all the new state fair foods. And I was like, how are we doing this? What has happened? How is it already we're announcing the new state fair foods?
About a month ago. Actually, wasn't it the first day of no school? Your family was at our house. And I told your daughter, I said, did you see Target's back to school sales are out?
Oh yeah. She was not
the
pleased.
first day of no
Was it
school.
really there? Or that was a joke, right?
No, I just said that to her. And
yeah, to torture.
I saw it was kind of like a seizure.
Yeah. Although I did go to Target and it's there now.
It's there.
And I was like, oh, I also had a little bit of a jolt.
The thing, I was at the downtown Target this past week. They have their Halloween stuff out.
Oh, I don't understand it.
Yeah, so
I'm
there's
not ready.
a problem. There's a problem.
I just want to be in the moment. I want it to be July. I don't want it to be a week to August, but I want to be present. And it's really hard when you're always getting pushed what's next, or even us, like just in church.
Yeah, why is
constant?
Because I don't want to be pushed. I like being in the moment. But yeah, their moments are slippery.
Yeah, they are.
Moments also, I think there is so much pressure or expectation to be or the need to be working on the next moment, which can cause you to be
forget about where you are right now.
And I think a good illustration of it for me is that, like, if you're walking, you can't just stare at your feet. That's when you do fall down.
Right.
I mean, that's
I do know.
You're supposed
not wrong.
It's actually quite miraculous that you can look at the horizon and you can step over stuff and all that. It's like what a miracle of how we're made. And I think that we bring some of that to the practice of just like life and its moments, is that you can't just look down because that'll cause you to stumble but looking at the horizon can just make you miss what is also right under your feet.
Well, and I think what I really struggle with is, and I've been noticing it more lately. I don't know.
As you age.
As I age, yes. I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to, but Scott did for me. I feel like I'm looking way ahead and also like next week. Like I'm always either too early or too late. And like in the middle is really tough for me. So I feel like Kid Venture. I've been thinking about Kid Venture for months. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, it's in 2 weeks. And like, there's never this like, oh, I'm like just in this happy spot. Like, I feel like I'm always either way too far ahead or holy moly, it's tomorrow. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how to be present or like, well, I don't know. What?
So Rachel's declaration today is I don't know how to be well.
I don't know how to be well. Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So today, First Peter, so coming out of James, who is, I think it's fair to say, James, no one ever said, James, you're so nice.
Maybe in real life. I don't know.
No.
Okay.
Probably not. James, we just did a study of the letter of James that was James gives 64 directives so it's like every other verse in the book of James, there's some directive, like on average. Directives can be a little overwhelming. James also, part of like recurring conversation in our world too, is that he gives a directive and then doesn't necessarily give the details.
No, but he feels like everybody already has the details. Like he's been like, do you feel that? He's like, yeah. Okay.
No one's never accused me of being nice either.
Oh wow. Okay. But like James is like, he's been preaching for 20 some years. He's been the pastor in Jerusalem.
Not jaded. He's intense though.
He is intense, yeah. And I think his goal, like what I read in study, was he was rewriting the Sermon on the Mount in some ways, and like us reliving that and then giving directives. I feel like it was like this moment of, I have all this stuff that I've taught and I have to like get it all together, like almost that like sense of urgency at the end of life, like, oh my goodness, if I don't tell you this now, you're never going to hear it. And so I don't know, maybe I have a soft spot for James.
Yeah.
I always I see grandpas and I'm like, oh,
I was gonna say you empathize.
I do. I love grandpas. So
James is also writing with a degree of expectation and probably some reality that the people hearing this have some maturity.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. And now we turn to Peter. First Peter is written to such a different group of people.
Calm or gentle.
Yeah, it's I think the easiest way for me to wrap my head around it is people that are hanging on to some degree of connection to Jesus and following Jesus just by a thread.
Yeah.
And not that necessarily that there was ever a moment that they would have said that they were solid or strong, but they're not Jews. And the significance of that is that Jesus as a Jew, as a rabbi, as the Messiah, the early church, the first church was primarily, not exclusively, but was primarily Jewish people that saw Jesus as the Messiah. But it wasn't Jesus, his commissioning to his disciples, to us, is to go into all the world, to make disciples. And it was not just for Jews, but to Gentiles, meaning non-Jews. And so here's a group of people that don't have like a historic thread tying them into Jesus culturally. They don't have even if it's not even just like a historic culture, they don't also have the relationship, like family relationships. They've probably disassociated with the people in their world, and they haven't necessarily been fully adopted into, or don't feel fully adopted into another world. They're facing Roman oppression, and so they're living as exiles. So, which is, there are modern day exiles are happening all over the world and in the United States. But it's a tragedy. Yeah, it's a bad scenario. Yep. Losing the things that are your stability. Yeah. And so because of that, and also the just in the midst of those incredible intense moments, it's easy just to let go. I can't focus on following you, Jesus, because life is too hard right now. And Peter comes in and goes, I get it. I get it. And I've given up. And and in the process of being inside and also knowing what it is to quit, there is value in not giving up. And he comes gently. Yep. And goes, you're not forgotten. No one is missing. He says, because of your insiderness, be these things. Don't be mean, don't be malicious, be focused on Jesus.
Yeah.
And then this week I'm about to do it, so get ready.
Oh no.
This week he brings up rejection.
Yeah. I already had some tears today. So he told me he was gonna push into the rejection piece just to make me cry on camera. I don't know.
Well, it's so I did a little bit of like, I find an article and then I like to jump, go hyperlinks or from people's reading lists, go farther and farther and there's some interesting writing. There's actually the one article that we'll reference on Sunday. Basically, the premise of the article is that the brain chemistry that happens in a moment when you break a bone is the same brain chemistry that happens when you are rejected.
I have a lot of broken bones. I'm fine.
Have you ever broken a bone?
I've sprained an ankle really bad.
Yeah. So the thing is that you can say, well, yeah, it's true. But that could be your bridge in every conversation. Somebody asks you, have you ever broken a bone? You say, well, I know rejection.
It's interesting because I was thinking about that conversation and like when I hurt myself, I don't cry. Like it's like you just are like, ow, that hurts, and like it's not fun, but I don't cry, which is funny because I'm a tearful person. I cry easily, but emotions, like when we talk about rejection or painful things, I definitely can cry pretty quick. But actual physical pain, like I feel it, but it doesn't make me cry. And I always think that's weird because I do cry so easily. But
I do think though, is that in the moment, and maybe this isn't true, you can process this, but like if there was the moment that you fall down your front steps and I'm gonna guess because I know you a little bit. So the first look up is to see if any of your neighbors saw you.
Probably, yeah.
The next is to check if you have a traumatic brain injury or a compound fracture.
Next is actually how quick can I get out of the situation? Yeah, that's the next one.
That's it. Yeah. And so, but in a moment like when the actual trauma of rejection happens, isn't it the same?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
Get me out of here.
Get me out of here. Yeah, because I'm a runner. Let's be honest. We'd laugh about this, some Sundays after church, and this isn't rejection, but it's like maybe overwhelm or something tough. And I'm like, how quick can I get to Duluth? And it's really just needing to run away for a few minutes.
Yep.
And then I come back. That makes me sound terrible. Like I'm always running from church, but it's just
so in a moment when you give completely, part of your refreshing or refocusing, whatever, is not to give again.
No, it's run away out of the city, far away from everybody. Not everybody, but yeah.
You kidnap your family.
I do take my family, and they would call it kidnapping for sure. My daughter is like, "Are you kidding me, Mom?" I'm like, "You're already in the car. What are you gonna do?"
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, so Peter, he says, he reminds these hearers a little bit about Jesus. Again, they were introduced to Jesus, they knew Jesus, they never met Jesus, but he references back that Jesus is the cornerstone, which is a pretty powerful declaration, and the cornerstone that was rejected. Can
we talk about the cornerstone for a second? So there's some really cool things about the cornerstone, and just the word in the Bible, because sometimes it's translated as cornerstone, and sometimes it's translated as capstone. And the cornerstone is the perfect stone in the corner of a building that helps shape the building.
So if it's, from that reference,
so if it's misshapen, the house is misshapen or the building's misshapen. But then the capstone, and you probably know better than me because I just read about this a little bit and I have no idea, but it holds the broken pieces, right? And it's like, is that on top?
Can be
a cap, but or whatever. And so it holds the broken pieces. So I was like, sometimes it's translated as the cornerstone that helps shape the foundation, and sometimes it's holding the broken pieces. And I was like, Jesus says it all, I guess.
Like a good picture of like capstone. it is not just broken pieces, but like if you're building an archway, there's like a keystone that it brings it all together, that allows the weight, the forces of the world to be not cause chaos, but to come to order.
I love it. I was like listening to that and reading about that and thinking about that. And I was like, this scripture is really great. Like, cause it's like, it talks about rejection. And one thing that we talked a little bit about was like when all of us, right, when we're talking about our foundation and what like our childhood growing up, whatever, we all have a little rejection, a little brokenness that shapes us a little wonky sometimes, you know? And then the rest of our life is kind of rebuilding that foundation, trying to get things back in the way it should be.
Yeah, and if you can encourage people to be like Bible readers, which is good, is that like read 1st and 2nd Kings, and the repetition of 1st and 2nd Kings is, you say, wow, God is doing some miraculous things here. But the repetition, the real repetition is here's another generation that rejected God. Here's another generation that rejected God. And so Jesus, born again, he is actually quite a story of rejection. He was born to a commoner family. There was the census. Yep, they go to Bethlehem because there was a census taking place, and then there wasn't room for them.
Yeah.
And so that's part of your like Jesus's birth narrative. It's like it wasn't a hot, like I don't know what family have. Like there's some story about it, but we weren't home. We traveled to Bethlehem, and there was no spot for us. You were born in a barn, buddy. And then quickly from that,
they had to run.
They became exiles to Egypt.
Because they were killing all babies,
because of him.
Because of him, they were killing all the babies in Was it Bethlehem? No.
Yeah, the region. Yep.
Yeah.
So which is heavy.
Yeah.
So responsive for parents, and as a kid, so ran from Herod, lived in exile, came back, still had to run because it was still dangerous for him, and then these things formulate. We see his character, his truth, the nature of God as somebody who walks out, moving beyond rejection.
Yeah.
And so from that, again, there's an intense gospel theme of Jesus being for the marginalized.
Yeah.
For those that are rejected. And Jesus understands that.
I was watching The Chosen for just a second last night. I just felt like I needed to see
That's good.
Experience what Peter was like for a minute. But it was like, it was that moment where he talked a little bit about that when all the babies were being murdered. And then he had this moment where somebody was a leper, which they talked about, came and he healed the leper. And it was we read it and it's kind of like, you think, wow, this is miraculous. But even just watching this moment, and they were talking about everyone was freaked out because this leper was coming, and then Jesus just went to him and healed him. And it was just a show, but it gave me this moment of going, wow, this guy, these people, they were such outsiders. They were marginalized. Nobody even wanted to be near them. And he couldn't even sell his things for a few pennies. And of course, this is the story, but it's just but that's how, And it was just Jesus was for the marginalized.
Yeah, the miracle, if you just study all of the miracles that Jesus performed, it's again a good Google search, miracles, Jesus, Gospels, and read them all. And everybody, which is a strong statement, please write in the comments below that I'm wrong. But there is definitely a recurring theme that Jesus is doing the miraculous for the marginalized, the rejected.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they may not have been rejected by family or friends, but the people were, a commonality is that they were rejected by the religious authorities, which would have been known as the voice of God. And so for a person who's the guy with the withered hand that Jesus heals on the Sabbath. And religious authorities go, "You did a terrible thing." And this guy, that's rejection.
Yeah.
And Jesus goes, listen, the Sabbath was made for us, not us for the Sabbath. And if your donkey fell in a well, wouldn't you rescue your donkey on the Sabbath? This person is so much more valuable than that.
Yeah.
Again, rejection.
Yeah.
And so that on the table, and then I feel like, and I forgot to bring our onions.
Oh man.
Can you get an onion?
You
can get an onion. Yeah, because I feel like because I need help. And maybe you don't, but like I feel like Peter like wrote this with like tears running down his eyes. I'm just like holding an onion in front of my face.
Yeah. I think we're all gonna do the same weird thing he does.
Yes. But he says it just is. He says, "You are chosen people.
Yeah.
You are royal priesthood. You are holy nation. You are God's special possessions."
Yeah.
And this is like echoes clearly to God's declaration in Genesis to Abraham. And that you are my chosen people. And these people, while being marginalized, not being Jewish ancestry, not having all these different things, they would have said, "Listen, if I quit, no one will even know.
Right.
Doesn't matter." And Jesus goes, or Peter goes, "No, you're it.
Yeah.
You're the opposite of rejected."
Yeah. And I think like what's beautiful about all of this is like, because I keep thinking like, yes, they come from a different place than Peter, but also all the people that were followers of Jesus that were Jewish had to leave so much behind of what they knew, and they were rejected. And then these guys are rejected, and it's like they're outsiders in what they know, and all of these things, like they have to go through some painful things. There's some painful processes. And so to have this moment, and even it's just like for Peter to even believe this after the mistakes he's made and the like denying Jesus 3 times and then being like, "I quit, I'm going to go back and be a fisher." And even like being chosen to be a disciple when he was a fisherman, like all of these things, you think his foundation isn't like, I should be picked. Like that's not where he comes from. And so when he says this to them, I feel like he's also like either saying it to himself, but also finally believing it, And it's like, you are chosen, I am chosen. You're a royal priesthood, I'm a royal priesthood. You're a holy nation, I'm a holy nation. You're God's special possession, I'm God's special possession. And it's just like miraculous that any of them took this and embodied it.
Yeah, and on that, like to solidify that again, is that you don't have a moment where you're like, check it off the list, I'm done with rejection.
Yeah.
It is relentless, it's constant. And so if Peter was writing this in a moment where he goes, "Man, I feel like God's chosen people."
Yeah.
There was 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Where you had to pick that up again.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, this is like dorky, but this is like daily affirmations, you know? Yeah. And I mean, like, I feel like that's very, chicken soup for the Christians. Oh my goodness, please. But like, you have to like, put this on your mirror somewhere and be like, you have to remind yourself of this all the time, because how can you fully embody it unless you actually choose to believe it? And how can you choose to believe it unless you're reminding yourself that this is who God created me to be? Because it's so easy. I think it's so easy to start my day thinking I'm going to, like I'll start in the morning going, "Man, I'm going to be so healthy today. Today is my day. I'm going to, and then by like, 9 p.m. there's a banana bread, and I'm like, well, that looks good. So like like it's so quick to like forget who you say you are, what you're gonna do, and it's like you have to constantly, I don't know, like just moving from like saying this to fully believing it. It's just like it's over and over and over and over again.
Yep. Yeah. All right, Rich.
Where's Rich's wrap?
I know.
He's not here.
Well, I do think that we're in the middle. We're going to ask the question, how does relationship with Jesus impact feelings or understanding of rejection? And I think that it's like relationship with Jesus is not some magic pill that you never deal with rejection. But it is exactly what you said, is that even in the middle of life where these people, Peter wasn't saying, don't worry, the Romans actually aren't rejecting you. No one's rejecting you. Don't worry. No, he wasn't saying that at all. He was saying, in the midst of all of life's rejection, you're not rejected by God.
Yeah.
And so how does relationship with Jesus impact my feelings of rejection? It doesn't eliminate the pain of other rejection, but there is a stationary, stable, solid thing that I can choose to see and work on every day, that I am not rejected by God.
Yeah, that's the wrap up. That's good.
Wrap up. All right, thank you.
Have a good day.